Business Brain, episode 642 for Wednesday, April 23rd, National Email Day 2025. Kind of feels like every day.
Yeah, how do you get rid of it?
Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take a few ideas, some from you, some from us, that we crunch, we dissect, we use and analyze to better tune our business brains so that we can each keep on living those charmed lives. And speaking of living charmed lives, Shopify.com/businessbrain is where you can go to sign up for your $1 per month trial period and upgrade your selling today. We'll talk more about how you're going to do that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And out here in Lafayette, California, where it's going to be 80 degrees today. So
amazing.
I'm very happy. Yeah, that's great.
That's great.
I had to break my shorts out and start putting away the long pants.
Nice. It was 80 here on here on Saturday.
That's awesome.
And then cool. I don't know, what is it today? Like it's 60 or something. So,
yeah, it's not bad.
Bounces around.
Spring's in the air. All the plants are looking great, and I'm happy to be here, man. Hey, I want to test a thesis out, an idea that I have. That
all right, go. Yeah,
kind of rolling around in my head that could be added to the lexicon of business brain topics or phrases like we use,
I understand.
Like
sure.
Charmed life, mistakes or tuition, things that we love. T-shirt phrases, I like to call them.
Okay.
And this is called the 20-80 rule. You've obviously heard of the 80-20 rule, right?
Right.
Whatever. 20% of the people do 80% of the work, that kind of thing. But my take on this phrase is a little different. I've been thinking about it more. And what got me thinking about this is everyone's in a hurry to like start making money and be successful and get their business going, at least in our world, right? We gotta go.
Yeah.
But the concept I think, and watching people grow in our own business and this show and your business, it really takes a year or two to get things off the ground, right? I think.
You got to have some runway for sure. You got to make some mistakes. Yes.
Yes, of course. So the question I asked, and I asked one of my clients this, I said, listen, if you could invest 20, is an 80, maybe I don't have the math right, but is an 80% return worth your time? And of course, everybody says, yes. So
obviously,
let's take a 10-year time frame. Let's say, because, we've had businesses that have lasted about 10 years. This show's about 10 years. I know it'll last longer. But if you could invest 2 years of your time grinding, building, creating systems, and experimenting, making mistakes, small mistakes as you grew and scaled, and then after that 2 years, you started scaling, and whatever you created kicked off revenue for the next 10 years, isn't that a good investment?
That's a great way to look at things. That is how it's going to work most likely with many businesses, right? I mean, you might start kicking off revenue earlier or whatever. Or you might be in a business where you have to kick off revenue early.
Yes.
Right?
It doesn't mean you can't make revenue, but I'm talking
I know what you mean. The growth,
scaling,
the real growth.
Real growth. If you got to get past at least the year and a half, 2 years of time, and I don't know how to, maybe I've done it faster, but I think really scalable things that last a long time, I think it's just a great way to look at it.
You need those. I've seen and I've built businesses that take off right away, but they have no staying power. And I've seen people with this, right? It's just like it burns and then it burns out.
Revenue, but you chase some profit.
You're chasing profit, and that's it, and then you're out, right?
Right.
And that foundation that you build in those first 2 years of really kind of grinding it out and not seeing those, spectacular wins, right? All of that stuff. That's what builds you that lifestyle business that then becomes worth something down the road.
Yeah, that's right. And I think you need time to implement those systems that become that foundation so that when you're ready, when you turn on that spigot, it it really takes off. So,
that's the issue, right?
It. Yeah.
That's the issue when you start earning revenue, like spectacular revenue right away. You might not have time to build the systems, to onboard the people, to do all the things. I was talking to a person who's got a business that's maybe a year old, and somebody's interested in buying it and kind of doing a roll up with them. So they're and this was the other part, as I was pointing out, I'm like, okay, they're buying your business to hire you. You're going to work there. And so make sure the deal is worth whatever time you have to invest working for this person, because you just sold yourself into a job if you take this deal. But also they're like, well, yeah, but I don't think they're going to offer me what I know the business is worth. I said, well, they're going to offer you what your business is worth based on past revenue, not future revenue. And he's like, yeah, I don't want to sell it for past revenue. I want to sell it for future revenue. I'm like, okay, of course, but no one, especially in today's world, no one's going to pay that unless they know you and they want to buy you out of competing with them, which might happen. Right? Maybe. If you're really good and you have your reputation is longer than the 10 months you've had this business, right? Yeah. Like these things can happen, but your business isn't worth anything without
young and
when it's that young. It's just not worth anything.
What is the multiple? Like you don't even know. You don't even know the potential of it. And
no.
I would you want to strike, when opportunity comes along. Of course,
and maybe there is a good, solid reason to take the money and run. Maybe. Like you don't get to control what happens in the world, So if that's going to change things, maybe take this up. Maybe this is the bird in the hand, right?
Yeah.
No problem with that. But just know what you're doing. Know what you're saying yes to. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're looking at all this stuff online or trying to search, I'm going to start a business or I'm going to try and I get that question a lot. Well, how long does it take? That's the wrong way to look at it. It's
overnight success takes 20 years.
There you go. Okay. Answer. Thanks for listening to our TED Talk. Yeah.
That's how long it takes. That's right.
Yeah. And so, you have to, couple things. You can't buy into that lizard brain, I'll teach you how to make this money overnight, because that's just a lie. Come on. That don't do that to yourself. And then the second thing is got to give yourself some grace, some time to research and educate. And so I get it. If you don't have any way to make money, you're under that pressure. And that's a different discussion. There's ways to address that. But if you're coming out of like a corporate thing or do whatever, there's a long runway for you to put these systems in place and to I was fortunate that I was delusional enough to come out of college and never have a job, right? And just started building from day one because I had no, my overhead was just like non-existent, right? Beer money and hamburgers.
Yeah.
So that was about it. And so that allowed me a longer runway to kind of figure all this stuff out. So think about your commitment level. If you really want to build something that is sustainable and scalable, I think it takes you that time frame, 2080.
I agree. I mean, I've certainly lived that more often than I've not lived that.
Yeah,
so yeah.
Same.
Yeah,
I mean,
when
we built Deals on the Web, it was a couple of years before we had money to hire somebody to run it for us.
That's right.
A couple of years.
Yep. We started earning revenue pretty quickly, but that didn't mean we didn't have a foundation. We had a revenue stream. That's it.
That's different. Yeah.
Yeah, it was different. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, tell me what you think.
That's
Feedback at businessbrain.show. Come tell us so we can talk more about this, because maybe I'm wrong, but one way or another, let's have a discussion so I can make this either a foundation statement that you'll hear from me over and over the next 10 years, or I'll just stop.
Just stop saying it all together. That's right. Right. Feedback at businessbrain.show. All right. I want to talk about our sponsor. Because, starting your own business can feel like trying to build a rocket ship with duct tape, 2 interns, and a YouTube tutorial. But with our sponsor, Shopify, it's like somebody hands you the controls to a fully built ship and says, go ahead, launch. whenever you'd like. I use Shopify to sell merch for my other podcasts and one of my other businesses, and it is so seamless. It practically runs itself, truly. It powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., from giants like Mattel to entrepreneurs just like me. And anybody getting started, you get beautiful, ready-to-go templates, AI tools that help with product descriptions, emails, and even your product photos. You need to market? Great. Shopify's built-in tools help you run campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And yes, that beloved purple Shop Pay button, it converts like crazy and makes checkout so smooth it should come with a spa soundtrack. So, if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into ka-ching with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/businessbrain. Go to shopify.com/businessbrain. Again, shopify.com/businessbrain. And our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. Shannon, I'm going to go off script a little bit here, and I'm changing the agenda today because I've been thinking, there's something I've been thinking about lately. It was sort of catalyzed by a thing I saw where one business, it's not any of my businesses, not even in any of my fields, but I saw one business sort of take some actions only to hurt their competition. It would not have bettered them.
Yeah.
It was sometimes you do a thing for yourself that has a ripple effect that might not put your competition in the best light or whatever, but this was very much predatory about, and it was, they did not like seeing the perceived success of their competition, because you don't really necessarily know if someone is having success, but they saw this perceived success and they went out of their way to hinder that, making zero difference to what their business, they were not minding their own business. And I just thought, man, like, I can't even imagine living in that world. And it got me to thinking about my businesses and how I've been doing things for the last 26 years or whatever it is, ever since we started the Mac Observer. And I don't know if I've ever told this story before, but we started Mac Observer in 1998, and late 1998. And, it took some time to kind of get things going. Brian... Yes, but yeah, no, yes. You're totally right. That's kind of what got me thinking about this, was like the beginnings of things. And we got things rolling. It was just me and my business partner, Brian Chaffin. It was his job to produce or hire out to get content and publish the content on the site regularly throughout the day, Monday through Friday. It was my job to make sure that we had a site to publish, which meant like servers and all that stuff, because back then there was no hosting companies that you'd use or whatever. And also to have the money to pay the people and the hosting bills and hopefully eventually ourselves. Right. Yep. So we started doing this. And one of the things that I learned very quickly was that sales is best done as a full-time job, because and I'm speaking very much about myself here, because I was the salesperson, but I was also the programmer and the nerd doing like all the server stuff. And I found that I was gravitating towards doing like the programming stuff, because that was like, I knew if I put 2 hours into programming, there would be a positive end result. Whereas 2 hours into sales might not get you anything. You got to put in another 2 hours or whatever it is. And so our first full-time hire was Greg Snyder, our sales rep at Mac Observer. And we were about 8 months in as we were starting to figure things out, like to your 20/80 rule, right? The 2 years. Yep. And at that point in time, 3 of our competitors came to us. Other people publishing, directly competing Mac news websites, and said, oh my gosh, you guys have your stuff together. You're clearly figured out the hosting thing, the server thing, and the ad sales thing. We just want to publish our websites. Would you, our competitor, do for us what you've done for yourself? And that's when we decided to create a separate business that we called BackBeat Media.
Yep.
And the entire success, and so BackBeat was not our idea, right? It was our competition's idea. Definitively.
Yeah, they came and gave you the opportunity, right?
They gave us the opportunity. They asked us to take this opportunity, right? And obviously it succeeded. And I look at all the sites that we worked with throughout the tenure of BackBeat representing sites on the web, and so many of them were our competition. And then I look at when we started with podcasts, we brought in so many. I mean, in theory, every podcast competes with every other in a sense. I mean, if you want
attention, right? Yeah.
If you want to look at it that way, right? And yet, I'm a podcaster, and that is one of our greatest strengths at BackBeat is the fact that we produce shows, we understand what publishers want, and therefore we can bring publishers in. Now, they have to trust that we're not just going to use our catalog to drive ad sales for my shows and forget about these other people. Like, there does need to be that trust there, and there's transparency and all that stuff. But obviously, we've earned that because we've delivered on that. And it's what I'm talking about here is this concept of coopetition. And I have prioritized coopetition throughout my career. And it's led to success for me, long-lasting success. Rising tide does, in fact, raise all ships in most industries. I'm sure we could come up with some, but when it's us little guys out there, like the more we can help each other, the better off we all are, truly. And even today, like I had, I had lunch when I was at Podcast Movement with somebody who runs a competing network to BackBeat, and all we did during lunch was share tips with each other about how we run our businesses. It wasn't like nobody was holding anything close to the vest. It's like, and we even said, it was like, okay, well, yes, we compete, but not on most things.
Yeah.
Most of what we do could be helped by learning how the other person does it without hurting each other, only helping each other.
Yeah, it's this concept of the pie is infinite, right?
Yes.
It's not that, oh gosh, I have this, and if I share some of it, I'll have less. No. If you share some, you're going to get some things back. And in my world, I'm a product guy. I've been buying deals my whole life, and I could tell you that some of the biggest deals, especially when we were getting started, these big opportunities would come along, and I would go find somebody to share the deal with because I could not take the whole deal.
We do that too. When we've got a buyer that has more money than we can spend on the shows of ours that they want to spend it with.
You have to get it somewhere, right?
I talked to the guy I had lunch with that runs a network that's similar to ours. Of course I do.
That creates more opportunities. So when I bring a deal, I can remember buying, I don't know if you know what the Super Drive is, but
I remember the Apple Super Drive. Yes, sure. So I'll put a link. Kids, you can ask your parents or look in the show notes at businessbrain.show.
Hey, at least I didn't mention floppy disk. So the Super Drive deal was massive. It was like 60,000 pieces, and I couldn't have done it. Not only did I not, I probably could have got the money because I always say if the deal is good enough, the money follows. But I didn't have the capacity. The client base to like put all this product and sell it. And so I found two other people and said, hey, let's each take 20,000 pieces. You have your customers. I have mine. Let's not step on each other. If you were, hey, if it turns out we have a mutual client, let's just split it and let's come up with a way to do it. So by sharing that when I needed them, there was a lot of goodwill.
And you were able to make money on that deal where you would not have been able. You would have had to turn the whole thing down.
I would have had to skip it. I have a fly fishing deal going on right now. I feel the same way. I'm just like, I can't take all these, but I don't have enough people. If you're in the fly fishing industry,
but feedback at businessbrain.show.
Yeah, there you go. But so what happened later? Not only was I able to do the deal. I took a third of it. I was able to make money. Our company was able to do good. But those two other people that I shared the deal with, in turn, shared deals with me.
Of course they did.
And gave access to product that maybe I couldn't get. And they were like, yeah, we'll let you do this. And, you kind of come to an agreement. So like you say, you don't step on each other's toes.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
I love that model, that thinking process of getting through in this coopetition, because it has dramatically impacted my life, man.
Obviously, same.
Yes.
I mean, like, I can't even, when I heard this story, I mean, first of all, I was just disgusted to hear this going on, because I know all the people involved, and it was just like, yeah, no, this is not cool. But secondly, it's just like, where do you think, what are you after here?
Yeah, that's
like,
it.
I
They
don't
get
understand.
too obsessed. Yeah. And
they're
it's like,
obsessed.
When
Yes.
I hear somebody say, I have this great idea and I can't tell anybody about it. That's a red flag right there.
Red flag.
The second is, I have this great source, this great supplier, but I can't share it. Well, unless you're like in a position to handle this
all of their business.
Yeah, it just happened to me not too long ago. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Would you want to share the information? We'll see what we can make out of this. I don't want to tell you. I was like, well, okay. So, you're leaving money on the table because you are not thinking about sharing access or whatever, or sharing your idea that you think is so valuable. That's what you do. Share, open up, man. Look at the world around us that we live in now. Everything's like, here, let's see if we can make this work.
Let's see if we can make this work together.
Yeah. And most of the time this is a t-shirt, phrase. It's execution, not the idea,
Right.
You could look at every great idea and somebody executed on it really well, and somebody sat there struggling or had analysis paralysis and never got out. It comes up all the time. They put too much stuff in front of them, too many obstacles. Just start and get out there and figure it out and see if your thing is worth it, and share and work with other people. That's how you figure it out.
Yes. That's how you figure it out. Don't sit in a silo. Yep, it's
no, for sure.
Coopetition, folks. It's it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, and you hear it talked all the time. Building in public.
Yeah,
build in public. Figure it out. You get some great feedback.
People will tell you.
Yeah, 99.9% of the people don't do anything, so you don't have to worry about somebody stealing your idea.
It's never going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. No. Oh, thanks for hanging out, folks. Feedback at businessbrain.show. Tell us your stories about coopetition, your thoughts on Shannon's 20/80 rule, and go to businessbrain.show/review and review the show for us. And then let us know. We'll enter you into our drawing for a MacBook this year. Your chances are good.
Yeah, very good.
We'll see you on Friday. Keep living that charmed life.